All right, thank you. Thank you for joining us. This is Coffee and Chat with Rev Bruce. We're here talking about Black History Month, in particular for Black History Month, how Black History Month is connected to Black education and how tech and STEM, even STEAM, are essentials that we need to make connections with in that skills development for Black History Month. And so just diving into this, I want you to know already that I will be making reference to two particular um, programs, and one is definitely an issue for folks to get a hold of, and that is understanding that we need to create exposure for young people, and not just at a later date, but at another time earlier in their educational pursuits. And so what I'm talking about is looking at different different ways that we can incorporate STEM, STEAM, particularly technology, into our educational programs, what we provide during Black History Month, and throughout our educational teaching and programming, in order to have young people get an understanding of what technology opportunities exist beyond where they are today. And so that's part of it. I've shared some things here so that you can check them out, and they're in the comments, both on Twitch and YouTube. But definitely, we want to talk about Black in STEM education and the programming that they do and the work that they do, in particular, how that connects with Black women in STEM, and then looking at Black Tech Week. Black Tech Week. I've put both of their Twitter accounts on here. Black Tech Week, their Twitter account, as well as Black in STEM education. And so you can see, right, with that what I'm talking about is a lot of what we're not seeing, in programming has to do with, we hear about inventors, Black inventors. We'll get a list of Black inventors and what they invented and all these different things. Garrett Morgan, right? We'll get a lot of information of Elijah McCoy. We'll get a lot of information. I just did a presentation on George Washington Carver and some of the things he was able to do. But flip that to, okay, you've taught me about Benjamin Banneker, but what have you taught me about architecture? You've taught me about Garrett Morgan, but what have you taught me about engineering? You've taught me about George Washington Carver, but what have you taught me about the scientific process and research and identifying a problem, trying to find a solution, testing a hypothesis? What have you shown me in that realm? And so for Black History Month, we need to go beyond just talking about Black inventors, beyond just talking about Black achievements of the past, and create opportunities, right? Opportunities for young students to be engaged and exposed to technical skills development and opportunities to be hands-on with that technology, so that they would be exposed and engaged, right? We have Black College Expos. And so my idea would be to have an early introduction to technology, if we go back to the research that they did for the I'm Going to College program, that settled into the best time to hit students with that introduction to college was about fourth or fifth grade. So the I'm Going to College program really worked on students early on to begin to plant those seeds for fourth to fifth grade. And that, that created a generation of students that had a mindset for going to college. If we take another look at the data and say, now if we expose Black youth, Black children, minority children, disadvantaged children to technology and technology development. Look at Roblox Studio. Look at Minecraft modifications. Those things that students are able to play these games. Listen, if they're able to play Among Us, they can definitely manipulate and create games, apps, things of that nature. If they're able to get on Roblox and communicate and chat and things of that nature, they're most definitely able to do modifications in Roblox Studios. If they're able to do Minecraft modifications, they can do and develop and design their own games, their own apps, and potentially do coding for others as a skill that they have developed, in class, out of class, after school, whatever it might be. I'm just saying that we need to look at helping others become creators and not just consumers during this time period, during this economic transition of what we're seeing happening in the technology field and major business field as far as layoffs. A whole bunch of people with skills are being pushed out, and what does that look like? And so what I'm really pushing for is for us to look at, Black Tech Week, right? I gave that Twitter here, and Black in STEM education. Those are two that I definitely think we should look at. And let me pose this, right? This period should provide us opportunities for doing things differently. And these should provide opportunities for us to incorporate what would be considered STEM and STEAM, what would be considered STEM and STEAM. And I think that when we look at that, STEAM is just, the same thing as far as science, tech, engineering, right? It simply adds arts along with math. And so when we have both of those combined, STEM and STEAM, right? When we have both STEM and STEAM combined, we're able to look at things from a different level, right? And when I say look at things from a different level, I want to say let's look at things from a perspective of, Black education, right? Let's say Black education in general, okay? And let's take it from another level, right? And so I'm going to say this, right? Black History Month, created by a Black educator, right? Where are we putting our emphasis, right? Where are we putting our emphasis? And when we look at that, what are we doing different, right? What are we doing different? And let's just take hip hop. Let's just take hip hop and run with it. You know, the Grammys just celebrated the 50-year anniversary of hip hop, in recognition, tribute to that. Let's take that. You know, so hip hop, the music is part of the arts, and so when we get into the engineering of the music and the mixing and editing, that is a technical skill, right? And so the technology of being able to manipulate that is part of the STEAM, right? That covers technology, engineering, arts, and then there's math, right? The calculations, right? Why is it that so many young rappers understand that there's 16 bars, right? That there needs to be a rhythmic, right? There needs to be a rhythmic calculation for when to come in and cut off. It's a rhythmic calculation, right? And so in that processing, then when students take ownership of it and then start improvising, that hip hop production becomes something different when they say, well, you know, instead of coming in at this point, I want to come in at this point with this cadence and then in at a different point with a similar cadence, but in the middle, I want to mix it up, right? Go and check out about 3/4 of the raps by Drake, and you'll see the difference in that cadence and calculation, a model that was demonstrated by both of the men pictured here, Biggie and Tupac, right? That not only can I maintain the same beat, but I can come in, maintain, and exit with different elements and cadence and nuances in order to create almost a different melody on top of the melody. And so the beat on top of the beat, you know, that synchronicity, it being in sync, is part of what we should be teaching in Black culture, Black hip hop, Black music, engineering, tech, arts, and math. And there's science behind it. There's science behind it because when we look at the science of, okay, if we do, right, science is a study. If we do produce this, we just call them albums. If we do produce this track, right? If we do produce this track with this sound, with this combination, what are desired results? What do we expect to get out of it? And that science will lead to an evaluation of what we have done. Sometimes we complicate it too much and act like there is more to it than what we actually have in store. But that is part of the work when we talk about what is the science behind it. What are the things that should be happening behind certain elements. And so we need to incorporate both STEAM and STEM activities during and beyond Black History Month. When we go back to hip hop, right? Are we talking about hip hop fashion and design? Are we talking about, as I said, mixing and editing in the studio? Are we talking about lyrical composition, which is arts? What are we talking about, right? Fashion and design, engineering, arts, math, right? You cannot design someone's clothes with a tape measure and not include math, right? How long is the inseam, right? Where are you gonna make that hem? What's going on there, right? Are you going to add rivets, buttons, stitches, a zipper, right? What count? You know, what type of thread are you going to use? Right? You're designing, right? And so that's part of it. Music, fashion, design, studio technology. And then we have the nerve to say in the lyrics and the language used, now we're creating culture within culture, which in sociology, it creates a subculture, right? And so how are we using hip hop, right? Go to, like I said before, go to San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto. Those images that are depicted are images from someone else's perspective about what it means to be a gangster, what it means to be a cholo, right? And some of those images that are depicted are highly stereotypical, right? They might have done some research, they might have talked to some people, but they're highly stereotypical. And many of us, still support the game. That's just the reality of it. And so until we're able to position ourselves to design and develop and even distribute the video games, the technology apps, the mobile apps, other forms of technology and software that people are utilizing, even if it incorporates AI and ChatGPT, until we're able to develop, design, and distribute that type of technology, we're going to be having this conversation about diversity and depictions of groups that do not match the entirety of our identity. That's going to be the case. And so use Black History Month as an opportunity to create and provide those activities that help us see things in a different light. Like I mentioned before, look at Black Family Tech Week. Here's their Twitter right here. Look at them and see what they got going on and how that works. I would definitely say taking hold of this, think of it in terms of providing opportunities to develop technical skills, right? Technical skills to create programs, right, that are able to get us to be in a different place, programs that are able to get us to be in a different place where we can see things in a different light, and where students can have, as I said, exposure, as well as opportunities to engage, especially hands-on, with different aspects of technology. That's important because if we don't provide it, we won't see a change down the road. I say start doing it early, 4th, 5th grade. If you wait too late, students won't have an interest in it, and they will have a shorter runway to develop skills in order to advance with it. Someone's going to be a great soccer player. You don't start them off the junior or senior year in high school talking about, hey, you got to consider soccer. You get them involved early. You get them involved back in my day. You get them involved AYSO. If you're going to get them involved in baseball, get them in Little League. Get them in Pee Wees, right? Get them in T-ball. But you don't wait until, hey, man, I know you're getting ready to go off to college. Have you thought about this? Right? That's too late. We're working against some things that are too late, right? Too late to see anything make a major difference. Pretty much Robert Torres did this article that I found to be quite interesting. He's the editor of this article that shows that in 7 years, the increase of Black representation in the tech industry has been 1%. 7 years. 7 years. Come on, y'all. That's 1% in a major industry that's growing, right? despite the layoffs and everything else, tech is still growing. This is the link for that in the chat. This is the link for that article. But the tech industry is still growing. Engineering, research and development is not going anywhere. Yet and still, African Americans represent an increase, a 1% increase in being part of the technology workforce after 7 years. That's not much. Overall, as of 2021, you can see this right here. This just says it all. African Americans themselves only represent 9%, less than 10% of the STEM workforce. So that's the jobs that engage in science, technology, engineering, and math. Those STEM-related jobs. African Americans only represent 9%, less than 10%. Man. That's not much. At the end of the day, Black History Month is about Black education, right? Black History Month is about Black education, and it was founded by a Black educator, and we need to look at how we utilize Black History Month as an opportunity, as I said, to create exposure and engagement opportunities, particularly hands-on opportunities for young people to advance and take advantage of technology. When I was coming up, a cell phone was a box with a handle and a antenna and a cord attached to a receiver that you had to carry that box around, a cell phone. And there were only so many companies that provided cell phone service. Right? You had to have big money to have that cell phone. Now, everybody got cell phones. Cell phones are the norm. Some even have cell phones and tablets. May not have a roof over their head, but they got cell phones and tablets. And so when we talk about it, we're talking about the advancement of technology. And with the advancement of technology, right, the advancement of technology, we're able to see how people are able to engage in technology differently. Go back to this, look at it again. Black History Month is about Black education. How are we educating our youth not only on the accomplishments of the past with science and technology, but also how are we educating our youth on what's the potential for the opportunities that they have at hand with the things that they're doing right now, the things that are happening in technology right now. How can we further provide exposure and engagement during Black History Month and beyond Black History Month in order to get young people on this level with technology, particularly STEM and STEAM. How can we make this happen with STEM and STEAM providing opportunities for young people to become more creators than consumers, right? And if we can do that, I think we can provide a segue into something greater. And if we do that, I think we can provide an opportunity for young people to not just take advantage of what's available, but also to advance and get into another place with where we are with our own celebration of Black history. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it. This has been just another Coffee and Chat with Rev Bruce. We'll continue this for Black History Month. I appreciate what you've been able to understand and take away from it. Please check out the descriptions on both the YouTube as well as the podcast descriptions, both the YouTube and podcast descriptions, for links to information as well as resources about what we're talking about with Black education during this month. And you have a great day and be good to yourself.